Wizard Rock is, at its heart, songs inspired by the Harry Potter stories. That's how it started, and it's evolved a lot. It's sort of come to almost be any celebration of story through music, but really it comes down to Harry Potter at the heart of it. It has the word rock in it, but there's not really a rock genre by a rule or anything. It's not a genre in the sense that the music sounds similar from artist to artist. The thread that combines them all is that it's inspired by Harry Potter and love of story.
This is Potter Watch, a podcast for wizard rockers of all persuasions. If you haven't found your favorite wizard rock band or don't really know about wizard rock yet, look out, because Brian Ross of Draco and the Malfoys is here for episode 15. Brian and his brother Brad are undisputably icons in one of the fastest growing genres of music this side of platform 9 3/4. Draco and the Malfoys have had one of their busiest years ever, proving that the Harry Potter fandom is alive and well. So plug in your amp and finish that chocolate frog as we go inside the Pensieve. Hey Brian, you ready to go inside the Pensieve?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. All right, well, welcome to episode 15. Brian Ross from Draco and the Malfoys is here from Rhode Island, calling in. And Brian, how you doing?
Great, thanks. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you could join us. So many of our Potter Watch fans are big fans of Wizard Rock. We feature a Wizard Rock tune for every episode, and there are some tunes that based in the rock and roll genre and some that aren't. And I was excited to hear from you as we talked before the interview that Wizard Rock doesn't have to be a straight rock and roll style.
Yeah, sure. One of my favorite Wizard Rock acts is Snidget. It's this lady named Grace Kendall, and she is absolutely fantastic. And she performs more as Grace Kendall now than as Snidget, but she would play the hammered dulcimer and sing these beautiful songs, heartbreaking, beautiful songs. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's touring this spring. You know that. Excellent.
So Brian, you were a likely historian too when it comes to Wizard Rock, because
sure.
As I understand it, Draco and the Malfoys are one of the very first Wizard Rock bands. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Can you give us
2005 we started.
2005, awesome. Can you give us a little history lesson in Wizard Rock, like where it came from and how to get going?
Sure. Well, our story is that my brother and I, we've been playing music together our whole lives.
Yeah.
And we were playing in bands in and around Providence, and we were doing a lot of stuff together, just the two of us as well. And we were playing these house shows all the time at our friend Matt's house, who later would become the Whomping Willow, or the Whomping Willows.
Uh-huh.
And Brad found Harry and the Potters online, and then one of our other bands ended up playing a show with them, and we were getting along. They're great guys. And Brad suggested that we bring them to play one of these house shows that Matt was having. And we were going to play as just our duo, not Draco and the Malfoys. Didn't exist yet.
Okay.
And Harry and the Potters, this was in February of 2005. I want to say they booked a somewhat spur-of-the-moment set of shows, like in Scandinavia or something like that.
Wow.
And couldn't make the house show. And we were just sitting around talking about it, and I said, maybe we can play a couple of their songs for people who are disappointed they can't make it.
Huh.
And Brad said, well, why don't we write our own songs about Harry Potter and play those? And I said, well, we could write them from the bad side. And he snapped his fingers and pointed at me and said, Draco and the Malfoys.
Awesome.
And so we put together a show with Harry and the Potters at Matt's house.
Okay.
Same deal. It was one of his house shows. And the idea was that we were just going to play this one time. We wrote a bunch of songs making fun of Harry Potter, and it was a joke.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make Paul and Joe laugh.
Right.
And so we thought that was the one time we were ever going to play. And then they went on their summer tour that year, and they were having a homecoming show nearby us. And so they asked us to open up the show. And we were like, okay. We went, and it's figured now this was a two-time joke. So we went, and it was at this beautiful theater in their hometown, and
Wow.
it went really well, and people were asking us after, like, where are your CDs? Where are your shirts? And we're like, oh, no, we're not really a band.
Right.
This is a joke. And so we sat on it. After that, we really thought that was the end, because we didn't talk about it or do anything with it for months.
Yeah.
And then as the fall was ending, Paul reached out and asked us if we would contribute a song to a CD they were making called A Magical Christmas with Magic.
Mm.
So we wrote a Christmas song for that and recorded it, and that was in an email. And then he said, also give me a call because I won't have something I want to ask you. And we're like, well, that's okay. Well, you just emailed us. Like, what could you be asking us?
Right.
And so he asked if we would tour with them the following summer
Wow.
as the opening act. And we were like, whoa! and if we would play their Yule Ball that they were putting together for the first time that year. We're like, okay, I guess we're a band. So we threw together a MySpace, recorded our songs, and recorded a CD, and that was all at the very tail end of 2005. And then after our MySpace launched,
Yeah.
a bunch of people just looked at that and said, hey, we could do, Ron and the Weasleys or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you knew, there were 400 Wizard Rock bands. So it was awesome. It was just a ton of energy. And,
Yeah.
we did it like Paul and Joe did it. We just did it ourselves.
Right.
We just grabbed our instruments, used the free software that comes on your computer, and
Yeah.
just made silly songs about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And that is something that anybody could do. So I think it just, the example was accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the best thing about it was that kids were making music.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We heard music we loved, and we got in our basement and tried to do it too. Yeah, that's how bands are made. So.
So as a, I assume you were a Harry Potter fan prior to Draco and the Malfoys.
Yeah. Yes. I've had a lifelong fascination with wizards.
Yeah.
So, I was into Dungeons and Dragons and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that when I was younger,
Yeah.
and all kinds of fantasy I could get my hands on.
Yeah.
And then this book came out that hit the, number one on the bestseller list, and
Yeah.
kids were reading it, and it was about wizards.
Yeah.
And so it was a natural fit. Brad found it first.
Okay.
Brad's the one who read it first, and he suggested I read it. He knew I'd like it.
Now, where are you guys in sibling order? You and Brad.
Well, we are technically we're half brothers, but we never
Okay.
use that word. We just call each other brother.
Yeah.
We actually have some older siblings who are like half/step siblings who we never really lived with.
Okay.
They've lived in Florida most or all of our lives, and they're older than us. So we have two older brothers and an older sister down in Florida.
Yeah.
But Brad and I grew up together with our parents, so it was kind of like a two-sibling household for the most part.
Okay.
And
And
I'm older than Brad by
You
4
are.
years.
4. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you, as a Harry Potter fan, when you look back, is it a surprise that you would be in a Draco and the Malfoys Wizard Rock band, or do you ever look back and think, what about Lupin and the,
No, it's not really a surprise. Brad and I have always had, we've always had an affinity for the bad guys. They're the more colorful characters usually. So
Sure.
we've always tended to kind of cheer on or root for the bad guys in a way, and just enjoyed the characters. Like, the movies we would watch when we were kids. I loved Darth Vader.
Yeah, sure.
Watching Star Wars.
Yep.
And I had a dream about Darth Vader when I was maybe about 4 years old.
Okay.
That I was flying with him in his TIE fighter in some kind of battle against X-Wings.
Yeah.
My dad was in one of the X-Wings, and I told Darth Vader not to shoot him, and he listened to me. So I always kind of...
Don't you
I always knew Darth Vader had a good side.
Right.
You know?
Nice. Yeah.
So, and we watched wrestling when we were kids, and we would always root for the bad guys. They were the more fun to us. So it's not a surprise at all to me that we ended up gravitating toward... Especially, you know, Voldemort is not really an accessible character in a way. You don't.
Yeah.
It's hard to feel some kind of affinity for him.
Yeah, I agree.
His experience is so unlike our own, and his power is so unlike our own. It's like he's not really human. So
yeah.
But Draco on the other hand, you understand very well what Draco is feeling, even when he's acting like a little snot.
Sure.
And you might not like how he's acting, but you can still understand him all throughout. And, you know, obviously one thing that's really important to Brad and me both is our family. And that's one of one of the redeeming qualities about Draco is the family he comes from is strong and loving and
they care about each other.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. You know, since I've started the show, I've been curious about what you just said. I hadn't put into words, you know, that Voldemort is very hard to relate to. I think I asked that question in the first episode, why he wasn't displayed as having more experiences struggling, because I thought maybe, you know, sometimes we can identify with someone who's going to the dark side if it's born out of, you know, their own struggle. But he does seem so complacent with his evil.
Yeah.
And,
he is.
He's crossed the line. But you're bringing up another interesting issue. You know, sometimes in romance, you know, the girls want the bad boy or the boys want the bad girl.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think that often antagonistic characters are just written to be complex. Yeah. And that in a way makes them fun. I mean, there are some great sort of gray characters too that do fall what you would consider on the good side, like Han Solo or somebody like that.
Yeah, sure.
You know, you've definitely got, you know, this selfish aspect where he's just in it for the money and he's taking his reward and he's going to run and all this.
Yeah.
But he's like this rogue with a heart of gold type character.
Yeah. Hey, I think that's a phrase for a new song. A rogue with a heart of gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a great example. Well, Brian, I think this could be a great place to bring your song in.
Oh, sure.
Talk about, you know, literally having fun with our dark side. So all your tunes are from Draco's perspective, and I find them all fun. I'm sitting here with my Cheat to Win t-shirt on for inspiration. So so you're prepared to play a song. Could you give us a little introduction into this tune?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So our songs, we really try, first and foremost, we try to make each other laugh.
Yeah.
We have some songs that are slightly what you might consider more serious, but really they try to all have a little bit of edge of humor to them. We're really, you know, there's only so seriously you're going to take things when you're writing songs about Harry Potter.
Right.
Like, we don't, you know, we take our music seriously, and we take it seriously, but, you know, it has an inherent sense of silliness to the whole concept. So, so we kind of like that aspect of it to play out when we write songs. So this is the very first Draco and the Malfoy song I wrote the day after we decided we were going to have our first show and play some songs about Harry Potter.
Awesome.
So yeah, this is sort of an overall feeling of toward Harry from Draco.
All right.
It's called My Dad is Rich.
My dad's always there to open all my doors. You have to call a patroness just to catch a glimpse of yours. My mom says she loves me when she tucks me into bed. How's your mommy doing in the mirror of Erised? My dad is rich and your dad is dead. My dad is rich and your dad is dead. Your dad's on his journey to the great beyond. When you're dueling, you might see him come out of someone else's wand. You may have freed our house elf or brought doubt to our family name, but your parents still got toasted by a big green glowing flame. My dad is rich and your dad is dead. My dad is rich and your dad is dead. My dad is rich and your dad is dead. My dad is rich and your dad is dead.
Also, well, awesome. My, my reaction has always been to that song from the first time until just now.
What's that?
Ouch.
Yeah. Well, see, I guess that song's a really good example of how being mean and evil can be fun.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, it's a ball just to like say the most mean thing and make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ouch is a pretty good word for that. We have a song, Your Family is Poor, about Ron Weasley that's equally mean.
Oh, when I was listening to you play, the image kept coming to me since you told me the story of you and Darth Vader in the TIE Fighter. And your dad in the X-Wing. And,
yeah. And your dad is dead, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to stick with me. But yeah, that whole scene, there's, there's something there. There's a child sitting by the bad guy, relating to him, getting to know him, being somehow intrigued by his badness, but also, there to be a voice of reason and love and letting him know there's another way to do things. And, let's start with not blowing up Dad's X-Wing fighter.
Yeah. I like my dad. Just spare him.
Right. I like my dad, but he may have his bad qualities, but that's no reason to blow him up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, well, that sounds like a good segue to Voldemort's Corner.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, you ready to go?
Yeah.
All
right.
Let's
go.
Here we go.
Oh yeah. Frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah. Frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah. Frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah.
So, have you ever had someone who wasn't a fan yet, but who happened upon you guys playing one of these songs and took it the wrong way, or?
Oh, the best
didn't understand.
The best example of that are when little kids.
Oh yeah.
Don't get like that. We're being somewhat tongue in cheek about all this.
Yeah.
And especially back when we were touring with Harry and the Potters a lot, we would play shows where there would be a lot more younger kids.
Okay.
Be a lot of libraries and things. And sometimes they would get so mad at us.
Yeah.
Those were the best.
Would you stay in character?
If
you were talking to them after the
character.
Show.
Yeah. We would. Well, after the show, we would kind of.
Yeah.
If they were going to approach us, I think it was a different situation.
Yeah. Okay.
But while we were on stage, we definitely stayed right in it. Like one time, we were introducing the song about Ron Weasley, and these kids had been giving us such a hard time, and booing us and stuff like that. It was awesome, and
right, job well done.
One of them yells out, Weasley is our king. and and I said, if Weasley is your king, I hate to see what the peasants look like in your world.
Excellent.
Yeah. It was a highlight. That was like that was in 2006, and it still stands out as a highlight. So, yeah. I mean, we've kind of developed sort of our own way to play Draco.
Yeah.
We're not really trying to be Draco per se.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're trying to be. We're being Draco and the Malfoys, which is
right.
It's a different character.
It's not Draco.
Yeah. I mean, we can't help but bring our own selves into the performance in a way.
Sure.
We want to be like authentic, and we want people to see who we are while we're playing.
Yeah.
So, we don't pretend to look down on people like when we play like Draco might or anything like that.
Yeah.
We are having the time of our lives every time we play, and we definitely want that to show.
Yeah, and that having seen you played several times at GeekyCon, even here in Ithaca at the Wizarding Weekend in 2016. Yeah, that's always the vibe I get. Is you're having such a blast, and even when your eyebrows furrow and get slanted as you get into the angry side, it's just such good fun. I even
thank you.
If you recall, at Wizarding Weekend, I sent a little girl and her family over to you guys. They hadn't seen you before, and they were at my table, and I was so excited to introduce them to Wizard Rock, and they were having a blast at the festival. And I told her to make sure she said hello to you guys if she had a chance. If she was there when you finished. And on my way over to say hello myself, she came bouncing back with her family, just the biggest smile on her face. And and I asked her if she saw you, and she said yes, and told me all about it, and she gave you a big hug, and it was really, really great.
Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah. So
very well.
You certainly didn't scare them off.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah.
So perhaps there's something about that childhood perspective that the bad guy needs. And, maybe it's when they lose that they start to, if that's something they can hang on to, maybe they don't fall. Yeah. What an element of Wizard Rock is the fun part.
Yeah.
And that to me, speaks of childhood and
sure,
playfulness and
so reading a book is it's a solitary experience, and those of us who are like to read a lot of books, aren't by nature necessarily the most social people, and so when you get people together at a show that has music about Harry Potter, we all sort of meet with this common denominator, this thing that brings us all together. We've all shared this profound experience just on our own, and now we come to a place where you feel like everybody just understands you, and you're there to have fun, and it's so easy to make friends, and everybody is just there to celebrate the thing they love. So, and at this point, now that we've been playing, this is 11 years, now that we've been playing this long, it's almost, there's an element of nostalgia to our shows. A lot of the people who come to see our shows, they were kids when we started out, and now, they're in their mid-20s or they're older than that, and they've got kids, and so they've clearly held on to things from their childhood they love just as well as we have.
Yeah.
We're kind of old by fandom standards. I was 30 when we started Draco and the Malfoys.
Yeah.
One thing that really benefited the Harry Potter community in general,
Yeah.
I think, is its timing. When it came out, the internet also came to a point where you could connect around the world to people with the same interests that you have,
Yeah.
and share things, and that not just for Harry Potter, but for
Yeah.
Wizard Rock too. Specifically, it really helped us in a way like that, and to get our music out there in a mass way without needing, a record company and things like that. Like the timing was really good for Harry Potter, I feel. But the themes that are in the Harry Potter stories are definitely universal. Love is the greatest weapon we have, and it overcomes evil. Do what you feel is right and treat others the way you want to be treated. The struggle of the underdog, the kid who is an orphan, who didn't feel he belonged anywhere,
Yeah.
finds a place that he belongs, and he flourishes, and he finds greater challenges than he could have imagined, and he overcomes them because of the bonds of friendship and family and love that he creates throughout his life and sticks to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah.
Why a Fender Stratocaster?
Oh, okay, all right.
I went
a great
from deep to as superficial as you can get.
No, that's great. I love to talk about process and gear and music and all that.
Yeah.
I have a Stratocaster and a Les Paul,
Okay.
and I prefer how the Les Paul sounds,
Okay.
but I prefer how the Fender Stratocaster plays. First off, it stays in tune way better. So when
Yeah.
I play live, that's really
helps.
important that
Yeah.
I'm not constantly going out of tune.
Yeah.
And I find that with a good little pedal rig and a decent amplifier,
Yeah.
I get most of the way to what the Gibson or what the Les Paul sounds like with the Fender, but I just feel it's so much lighter.
Yes.
It fits my body better.
Yeah.
It's easier to play on the fretboard. So
Yeah. Yeah.
to me, the playability aspect of it and the comfort level outstrips the little advantage that the Les Paul has in sound quality.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's heavy, and when you're playing day
Right.
after day after
Right.
day,
Yeah.
that adds up. It adds up on your body and on your shoulder and on your hands from not being quite in the comfortable position that I can get to on a Stratocaster. And so I've got a good handful of heroes who played guitar, and the most prominent of them, the most important to me when I was learning how to play,
Yeah.
was Slash. So I was all about the Les Paul.
The Les Paul, yeah.
All about
Sure.
it, and that was my first guitar. But it wasn't a Gibson, but it was a Les Paul style,
Okay.
and it was heavy.
Yeah.
It was so heavy. And
Yeah.
then I got a Strat as my next one, and one of my other biggest heroes on guitar is Buddy Holly.
Yeah,
He
sure.
always plays the Strat.
Yeah.
and So
Yeah.
I got a Sunburst Strat, and Buddy Holly had a Sunburst Strat. So I was all,
Nice.
at 13, I was all set.
Yeah,
I was
you're
all set now,
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can picture also Jimmy Page playing the Les Paul with the bow that he would
Yep.
do now and again, and he's always looks like he's always leaning back. You mentioned
Yeah.
it being heavy. I wonder how much of that.
Yeah.
It's like he has to brace
Yeah,
himself.
good point.
I thought it was always the bow, but maybe it was the weight of the guitar.
Yeah, it could be. And look
Yeah.
at where the guitar is on Slash. It's down
yeah,
below
he
it.
really low.
The way he
yeah,
plays.
yeah,
Like, I don't know how he reaches under and does it.
that
but
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah.
So you also, I've seen you play with Tonks and the Oars and Harry and the Potters, and then I read about you playing with the Whomping Willows early on, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So is
yeah,
that a
it's-
thing in
yeah.
Wizard Rock, or is that more of a Brian
No, I
phenomena?
think it's a thing in Wizard Rock.
Yeah.
It's a thing in Wizard Rock where, again, even Wizard Rock itself is kind of a solitary experience. You know, a lot of bands are one person doing all the instruments for themselves,
Yeah.
and then when you go to play live, you want to have that you want to replicate that full band sound.
Yeah.
Brad and I can get away with it because there are two of us. We travel with our tracks on an iPad
Okay.
that have our bass and drums
Sure.
on the file,
Yeah.
and we play our guitars and sing along to those.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be inclined to do that if I didn't have somebody with me. When I play a bunch of shows without Brad because my schedule is a lot more flexible than his.
Okay.
And when I do, I play them. I kind of rearrange the songs so that I can play them acoustic in a solo setting.
Yeah.
Because I'm not comfortable with the idea of playing along with tracks by myself with an electric guitar.
Sure.
There are people who pull it off, and it's great. Just for me, I'm not comfortable doing it.
Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man.
Yeah. It's funny you say that.
But
Yeah. I've
Go ahead.
written two Wizard Rock songs myself for the show.
oh, sweet.
Just episode 14 was the latest one, and I play all the instruments, and I like to add some effects from my recording equipment and so
Yeah.
on. But sometimes I'll play the songs for my kids or somebody, and some people will laugh once in a while when they find out. They're like, "Oh, that's a great song," and then they're like, "Who's playing the bass?" "Oh, that's me." "Who's playing the guitar?"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That's me. So-
Exactly.
But when you play, I also perform in other bands, non-Wizard Rock bands, and it's just a joy to play with friends. Play music on
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
I can see what you're saying. It's nice to when you do perform. That's an excuse to get together and hang out with fellow musicians.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Music is something to be shared
Right.
together, played together, and experienced as a group of people. I really feel that way. So,
Yeah.
whenever we're at some kind of event where the sound system is suitable for it, and there's drums there, we'll always try to jump in with bands.
Yeah.
And everyone knows I'm more than willing to jump up there and take a spot, whether it be on bass
Sure.
or guitar or whatever.
Yeah.
Brad is a really, really good drummer. That was his
saw
first
that.
instrument.
Okay.
He started off by playing drums, and he actually ended up. There's this band in the '80s. They're pretty big. They're still big. They were big in the '90s too.
Yeah.
Called the Violent Femmes.
Right.
They had that song "Blister in the Sun."
Yeah.
That was the first show I ever brought Brad to when we were growing up. It was an all-ages show. He was a freshman in high school.
Okay.
And I brought him to go see the Violent Femmes, and
Awesome.
he and I ended up playing tons of Violent Femmes songs, just the two of us, all the time, wherever we'd go. So
Yeah.
they became like a pretty big part of our influence and things like that. We saw them a ton of times. And Brad ended up being Gordon Gano, the singer and guitarist of that band,
Yeah.
had a side project, and Brad ended up being the drummer for his side project.
Oh, my gosh.
Touring Europe. He toured Europe as his drummer. Yeah.
Wow. Oh
Like,
my
he's
gosh.
he's really
Wow.
good. He's
Yeah.
a really good drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still the best drummer I've ever played with. He got to go do the touring thing a couple of times before I ever did. This Draco and the Malfoys was really the first thing. Like I'd been in bands in Providence and stuff that got kind of big on a regional thing, and we could go down to New York and get a gig, or up to
Right.
Boston a bunch, and Providence a ton,
Okay.
but never toured. So Draco and the Malfoys did that for me.
And you guys just had a fantastic year touring.
Yeah, we didn't tour per se, as
Right.
in like leave and go from
An
show to
official
show to
tour.
show.
Right.
But Yeah, but we did a ton of shows. We
Yeah.
did a lot of traveling on like long weekends and going out and doing a couple of shows here, a couple of shows there.
Yeah.
One of our busiest years, our busiest year probably since 2009.
Yeah. And I read in, was it 2011, there you guys had declared that you might be ending things?
Yeah, we
And-
thought we were
yeah.
retired.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And so we thought we retired, and we put
Yeah.
it to bed for a couple of years. We didn't do anything in 2012.
Okay.
And then in maybe the tail end of 2013, Brad kept saying, "Hey, I've got a song idea for Draco." I'm like, "Oh, yeah? Okay." And then he'd come back, we'd talk a couple weeks later, "Hey, yeah, I got a song idea for Draco." I'm like, "Yeah, you told me."
Did he
"No,
snap
I
his
got
fingers?
another song idea for Draco." What's that?
Did he snap his fingers like the when the very first song
No,
came
well,
into?
he might have when it first came to his mind.
Yeah.
Um,
To himself.
Because one thing that Draco and the Malfoys did for Brad
Yeah.
is he's an extremely talented musician. He's
Yeah.
one of those guys who can pick up whatever he picks up, he can play it.
Yeah.
It's uncanny. But our whole lives, he never wrote a song.
Okay.
The whole time we were growing up and playing music,
Yeah.
he didn't write anything because he was daunted when you would look at the entire universe of ideas of things
Sure.
to write a song about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he'd be like, "Well, what do I have to say anyway?"
Yes.
And then as soon as we had the constraint, it's funny how something that's called a constraint can
Yeah.
be so freeing.
Right. Right.
But once we came up with the rule that you had to write about Draco Malfoy, it was so freeing to him. He just wrote a ton of songs. He writes about at least 65% of the Draco and the Malfoys material.
Yeah.
Maybe we just needed a break.
Yeah.
We learned our lesson though. We won't say those words again,
Yeah.
that we're retiring or this is our
Right.
last this or that. Like
Yeah.
as long as people will still have us, we'll keep playing. you know.
Yeah.
There were times when, the 2007 when the final book came out, we were like, what happens now? Is this the end?
Yeah.
What happens to our fandom? What happens to everything that we've been, immersed in here for so long?
Right.
What felt like so long at the time. And it kept going, and then we kind of attribute it to, oh, okay, well, the movies are coming out. Maybe that's kind of got things still going.
Sure.
And then in 2011, the last movie came out, and it kind of felt like things were slowing down a little bit. And I think we tried to just, beat that slowing down to the punch
Yeah.
in a way. And then, I don't know, we got re-energized, and here we are now. The last movie came out in, I think, 2011, something like that.
Yeah. That sounds right.
So now we're years later, and, it's obviously the fandom's not going anywhere.
No.
We're going to be Harry Potter fans forever now.
Yeah. Not anytime soon.
So we've got a bunch in the works still. One time when we were kind of low on ideas, we did an anthology of Slytherin folk music. We play in a bluegrass band with our
Yeah.
dad. I play
Okay.
the upright bass, and Brad
Awesome.
plays the mandolin.
Okay.
And so we got the bluegrass band together
Yeah.
for that, and we took a bunch of just folk melodies and stuff and wrote songs that weren't necessarily from Draco's perspective, but
Okay.
were
Sure.
just Slytherin traditional songs,
Yes.
quote unquote.
No, that's
And we
awesome.
also took some of our own songs and did them bluegrass style. It was like a combination
Okay.
of the two. So we're working on a volume 2 of that,
Yeah.
and at the same time we've got a bunch of new song ideas. So then we
That's
got another
awesome.
parallel album coming
Yeah.
out to that. And,
I've seen Brad play the ukulele, right?
oh yeah, he's very
that,
good at. Like I said, he can do that. It might have been
Yeah.
"This Land Is My Land," maybe.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, that was one of the
Yep,
ones off
that
that,
was it.
album.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
could have been. He also has a YouTube channel where he's doing all of Weird Al's songs in alphabetical order on a ukulele.
Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah, frustrations of a young
at the risk of leaving anyone out, right? And in the spirit of getting the word out and inspiring future Wizard Rockers. So,
Sure.
so in that spirit, who are some other Wizard Rock bands that people ought to know about?
Oh, that's a great question. So I've
Yeah.
been having this thing at my house every four times a year. I'm renting this like massive house with a basement with a bar in it. We've got like a performance area set up. And I've
Awesome.
been having these house shows at my house where we invite other Wizard Rock bands to come, or just other bands that play stuff that's geeky and good. And yeah, we're having about 80 people at the house on average.
Wow.
So 4 times a year, once a season, we have these. And the day after, everyone's welcome to crash because there's a ton of floor space.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of musicians show up. So every day after the event, we do this thing called the Wizard Rock Club. And sometimes we workshop songs. Sometimes we do like hands-on recording, like show everyone how we set our stuff up and give everyone a turn, like getting some tracks down, or you know, just having a sing-along and a circle of call out the song and we all play together, just as something
Nice.
so we can keep in touch and keep playing music and encourage people to play who are just starting out.
Sure.
And there are some folks who have been very, very, you know, they've been working really hard in and around that crowd. One of them is, Grace Kendall, who I mentioned. She's been around a lot, and she's got a great spirit, and
Okay.
she's just awesome, really, really talented, and sings beautiful songs. Sings and writes beautifully. Abby Ritter is another one who she's really, really talented. There are these this group who have named themselves the Fantastic Beasts, who had a debut last September at our house show. They're really fun and talented. Kiana and the Cliffhangers is one to look at. The Blibbering Humdingers are hilarious. That's a couple named Scott and Kirsten
I've
who we've known
featured-
for years.
Yeah, I
Yeah, you
featured
know
one
them?
of their songs.
Yeah,
No, but I
okay.
featured one of their songs on an episode. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they are hilarious. I mean, their songs are off the charts hilarious, and they're wonderful people, and they're always a great. And they play a lot. They're from North Carolina, and they play all over the Mid Atlantic a lot. They'll travel to play, so they're relatively easy to catch if you're in that area.
Yeah.
And I would recommend them.
Yeah.
For those who are really new and would like, you know, some more well-known ones to check out if you haven't, are definitely Tonks and the Aurors, Lauren Fairweather, both really fantastic, and the Whomping Willows I would recommend, and of course Harry and the Potters. Kirsten Hippie is really good. Yeah, she played at GeekyCon. She played with she had her little sister come out with her, and they were unbelievable. So yeah, they're
sweet.
super talented.
Yeah.
And everybody who I've mentioned is really working hard and producing and playing and just dedicated to enjoying music and sharing it. Oh,
Nice.
Ludo Bagman and the Trash. It's this guy named Justin,
The Bagman.
who, and he's taking the bagman idea literally, and he wears a paper bag on his head, and he calls
Nice.
it like he plays up Bagman, Ludo Bagman and the Trash, and
That's great.
it's very funny. Like songs about having a bag on your head. It's pretty great. It's pretty like
Life
he
with
really
a
dug
bag on
in
your
and-
head.
Yeah, he dug in and found a really, really meta concept. Swish and Flick from New York City. It's a husband and wife who are both my age, who sing hip hop songs from the perspective of Astoria Greengrass, who ends up marrying Draco. And they're hilarious too. Really funny adult stuff, like raunchy but hilarious.
Okay.
They're awesome.
Swish and Flick.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, it's been amazing having you on the show.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure.
Yeah, it really has been great all around. And it sounds like the future of Wizard Rock is looking bright, and I'm sure I'll see you out there, and it'll be fun to see how things develop from here. And,
Absolutely.
I want to thank you and Brad for your contribution to the fandom and to music in general, and to getting people out to dance and have fun and sing. And my daughters and I, the first time we went to GeekyCon, we had a dance in our kitchen and just had a playlist of Wizard Rock.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I Like to Cry. Is that the title?
Oh, yeah.
Title of that tune, right? That's the title.
Yeah, that's one of our newer songs. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one that we just had a blast dancing to and laughing at.
Cool.
And for whatever
Awesome.
reason, and we'd listen to your albums on the way to school in the morning, and I know for my family it's been a wonderful resource to bond around. And then going to something like GeekyCon, knowing the lyrics, and this last convention, we got to hang out at the little acoustic improvised experience that Paul and Joe had. That was really special. And luckily, my kids think I'm cool enough to hang out and hang on to that. Do that with them. Yeah,
my kids are the same way, right? Somehow I've still managed to be cool. So yeah.
Well, it's great. Well, thanks for helping the rest of us with some good material to bond around.
Oh, thank you. That's nice of you to say.
There's a thing I like to do when I'm feeling kinda blue. Don't be ashamed, I know most of you, when you're alone, you do it too. When the world is too much, everything kinda sucks. Don't hold it in, don't suck it up, just let it out through your tear ducts. 'Cause I like to cry. When my mother burns my toast, I like to cry. When I'm missed, I'll be the most, I like to cry. In the bathroom with a ghost, when I'm feeling like I'm gonna die, I like to cry. Traits of Slytherin, but don't forget, I plan everything. I use my tears to help me win. So when a guy as cool as me breaks down in tears for all to see, people will take note of my heart and tend to give me what I want. 'Cause I like to cry. When my mother burns my toast, I like to cry. When I'm missed, I'll be the most, I like to cry. In the bathroom with a ghost, when I'm feeling like I'm gonna die, I like to cry, I like to cry. When my mother burns my toast, I like to cry. When I'm missed, I'll be the most, I like to cry. In the bathroom with a ghost, when I'm feeling like I'm gonna die, I like to cry, I like to cry. When my mother burns my toast, I like to cry. When I'm missed, I'll be the most, I like to cry.
If you want to keep Wizard Rock alive, just keep reading Harry Potter. Hogwarts comes alive in all of us when we share the fun and joy of reading and talking with friends. It's even more fun dancing and singing along. Send us your new Wizard Rock tune and we will feature it on Potter Watch. Like Brian said, any style would do. Just pick a theme, favorite scene, or character to write about. You can send in your song to potterwatchmail@gmail.com. Potterwatch is a podcast made by fans for fans, produced by Tony Catraccia in Ithaca, New York.